Hey folks, welcome back to the A.C.E Football Academy. I am Coach Dunham, joined alongside Coach Hamilton. Folks, we are excited for the new year. Coach, it is 2025, new beginnings and new resolutions, Coach. We are starting our new series, Friday Footy Talk. We are retiring the World Soccer Roundup. We're going to dig more into top 5 situations. We're going to talk about teams and their history, whatever random conversation you and I talk about. One thing that our listeners love, when you and I just kind of banter back and forth, they really love when you and I disagree about different things. So we're going to venture off into a new direction here, folks. We hope you join us. Again, we are going to dive into the Friday Footy Talk starting tonight. Coach, how are you feeling about this?
I love it. I think it's great. I think what you said there is important. Like, we are retiring the World Soccer Roundup. That's not to say that our footy talk is not going to revolve around some big games, El Clasico or Arsenal Liverpool, or games that matter to us. But you're right. Our audience has spoken when it comes to downloads and our feedback, and they like it when we create lists, and they like it when you and I disagree. So I think that's what our Friday Footy Talk is going to focus around. We will still have our Monday episodes where we hope to have guests and we hope to have maybe more specific topics that we're
Right.
talking about. But Friday Footy Talk is going to be just that. We're going to talk about football. We're going to talk about the game that we all love so much, and that's why I'm excited about this new series. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well, Coach. Coach, let's dig into our very first episode of Friday Footy Talk. We are going to be doing a top 5 episode, something that you and I have dealt with just recently in our own situations. 5 ways to help your player when they are not at training or they are not at a game. So, kids these days, they're not getting outside as much as we like them to. And so we're going to talk about maybe some ideas that you can get them engaged, involved, up off of their butts, out of your kitchen, stop eating all your food, whatever it may be, Coach. But where are we starting on this one today?
So I think the thought behind this episode is so important. As a coach, you and I are both coaches. How many times, and the coaches that are listening, how many times are we approached with that question of, what can Sarah do to get more playing time? What can Johnny do to be a starter, right? And we get those questions all the time as coaches. As parents, how many times have you thought, all right, Sarah really wants to work at home, she wants to play with the ball and things like that. What can I tell her to do when coach isn't around? And then you have those players who constantly, they want to play, right? They don't want the break. They don't want the Friday night at a friend's house.
Yeah.
They want the Friday night with the ball at their feet, right? And coaches cancel Friday night training because there's 2 inches of ice on the ground, like we're dealing with right now.
Right.
And so they're frustrated. So this conversation comes back to, all right, we get this question from all angles. This is not just a coach question. This is not just a parent question. This is not just a player question. This is a question that we get asked multiple times a season from multiple different people. How can I help myself, or we're calling it how can I help my player, but how can I get better at soccer when I'm not at training or when coach isn't around?
And you and I have talked about this in previous episodes, is you get better when you do the work outside of practice.
Oh, absolutely.
And it doesn't have to necessarily be going up to the backyard and doing 2 hours worth of footwork. It could be a number of things,
which we're going to get to.
So let's dig into number 1. And Coach, when you brought this up, I thought, that sounds insane.
I know.
But
everybody does.
We're in a new world. You and I grow up with technology, but it's very different these days. So the first one we're going to talk about is getting them into playing video games that deal with soccer. It could be FC, it could be what is it, the Soccer Revolution, whatever it may be. There's
FIFA,
multiple
yeah.
different soccer or football games that you can get engaged. But I think the concept is when you're playing the game, you're realizing you're seeing what's happening instead of being you're basically the coach playing the video game, saying, "Man, if I would just stop dribbling through 5 people, maybe I could score more."
Or look how wide open the wing is. Or look at this run that my computer animated player just made, and I was able to play him a great ball. And I'll be honest with you, Coach, I've gotten into that era of my life where I haven't played a lot of video games in a long time. I was gifted a PS5 from Santa Claus a couple years ago. And of course, the first game I downloaded was FC, right? When I was growing up, it was FIFA. It was FIFA, 1998 and stuff like that. But now it's FC, and I noticed it for the first time, as I started, over Christmas break playing it a couple of years ago. I'm like, man, we don't want kids on technology all the time, and we know that, and that's not what this conversation is.
That's not the idea, right?
But you can learn from playing this game, and I think you're right. You're the coach. You control every player on the pitch in those games, and so you get to see things from different perspectives. And shout out John, my one of my nephews. He loves it, and I think the biggest thing he's learned from it is the patience in the game, right? Mm-hmm. Tell my kids all the time, my players all the time, have you ever watched soccer on TV? Have you ever known, not only is the offense patient, but the defense is patient too. There are moments when there's an offensive player with the ball at midfield and nobody's really moving, right? They're just everybody's kind of holding firm, and you see that. And I think we'll call it FC, but in these soccer video games, I think you get an opportunity to practice those skills, and there's no reason that those can't translate onto the pitch.
I agree 1,000%. So my son is 11, and he plays the FCs and the FIFAs and all that stuff. When he first started playing it, he would get the ball before midfield, and just start trying to dribble through everybody, and he would get so mad because he couldn't score. I said, "Well, can you do that when you play your games?" "Well, no, but but today's video games
are hard.
So realistic.
They're hard.
You have to work the ball, just like in your games.
Yeah.
You're not going to take the ball from your 18 and dribble all the way down the field and shoot a score like it's Lionel Messi. You're not Lionel Messi. You're not Ronaldo.
Or Neymar, who apparently is coming.
Even when you're playing with Ronaldo, it's still hard to play those video games to dribble through everybody.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing it on the easiest mode.
Yeah, agreed.
And so now I just watched him the other day, and he's making these little passes, those little through balls. His guy's making these runs up. I'm like, wow. Look what you've learned.
Yeah, it is.
And it's just a simple concept of seeing it differently and adjusting it to your game and realizing, wow, if I could do that in my games, how much better could I be?
And I think, and we don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but I think out of all our top 5 here, this is going to be the one that maybe we get a little pushback on. And this is why we mentioned it first, probably out of all the other 4 that we're going to talk about, is the least helpful.
Is a rainy day kind of thing.
Yeah, but
it's a rainy day.
You're right. It's 8 degrees outside.
Yeah.
School's been canceled. You can't go outside because there's a half inch of ice on the ground. You can't go to the garage because it's cold. So what a great way to bond with your child. Hey, let's play me in FIFA. So let's see if you can beat me in FIFA, right?
Coach, let's move on to number 2. We love this idea, and we preach it. If you've listened to any of our episodes, we talk about getting pickup games going constantly. We've mentioned Should you go out and pay a personal trainer to work with your kid? And we keep saying, if you want to do that, go for it. There is benefit to it, but they're going to have more fun, be more engaged, more energetic, and more willing to try new things and pick up games with their friends. It's Friday, school's out because it's a teacher in service day. It's a nice day outside. It's going to be in the upper 40s, the 50s, 60s, wherever it may be. Let's get 4 buddies together, drive them up to the park, or walk them to a field, and just say, go play. And leave them alone. And let them do their thing. And they're going to come out and say, can I go do that again tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm gonna piggyback on 2 things you said. The first one is you said 4 buddies. I think a lot of times when we talk about pickup games, the thought process is, well, I can't get 10 people out to play with me.
Yeah.
You don't need
it.
10 or 15 kids out. Give me 4.
Give me a 1v1, a 2v2.
Yeah, we'll set up a small goal, little field, and we'll play 2v2 for as long as you want.
Or go out and work on your free kicks. Yeah. Work on your corner kicks.
Absolutely.
Work on your crosses. Work on your juggling.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the first thing that I gathered is numbers and pickup matches should never be a detriment to what you're trying to do. The second thing, so we've potentially tried to start our winter training in where we are here in Kentucky, and as you've heard me mention, we got a lot of snow on the ground still. We got a lot of ice on the ground still, but our teams are getting 2 nights a week to do winter training, quote unquote winter training. I'm using Tuesday nights as an actual training, and we're working and we're doing things. But my Saturdays, I'm setting goals up and we're playing. And I got a message from a parent tonight who has kind of come back to me. They ventured out to a different club and a bigger club. They come back to me and, the message just simply says, please keep doing pickup play too. It's what matters, is what we enjoy the most.
Yeah.
And I think you and I understand that we're past the age of hey, I'm going to ride my bike to a field and just see who's there and bring my softball and play.
I love that.
We're past that, though.
Yeah.
In this day and age.
Yeah.
So it does become on us as parents and as coaches to say, hey, Johnny, call X, Y, and Z. We're getting in the car. We're going to the park. Yep. Have them meet you there, and we're going to play. Yep. And then Johnny calls X, Y, and Z, and then Z calls A, B, and C, and then all of a sudden you have players there. Yep. But I do think as parents and as coaches, we have to, at least in this day and age, we have to put in the work to encourage and implement those pickup matches.
Let me add a little something to this, because I love this conversation about the pickup games. Let's make sure your parents understand that when you're there, stay out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't go over there and coach them or say, hey, you need to run faster, or hey, stay away. Because they're having fun.
And even when they're arguing about who's throwing,
let them figure it out.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
They're going to learn some problem-solving skills.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
Some communication skills.
They will.
And if you want to jump in and play with them because they need an extra number, make sure you're not coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. You're playing.
You're just shutting your mouth, distributing the ball, and letting them do their thing. And that's how a pickup game should be. It's supposed to be either just fun and a little goofy, but they're playing, or straight up competitive where they're all going at it.
Yeah.
Coach, let's get down to number 3. We like this because we feel it's important. Having just random conversations about the sport or athletics in general. Maybe you, as a parent, never played soccer in your life, and you're trying to find a way to relate to your kid. Maybe they're a preteen, they're in middle school, maybe they're up in high school, because we know they love to communicate with the parents so much. But maybe you played basketball or football. You can still discuss things you learn as an athlete back in your day that still relates to now. There is nothing that's going to get past, let me phrase that. Teaching your kid that I had to work my butt off, it doesn't change today. Learning that I didn't make a certain team still relates to today. Learning that I got cut, but I didn't give up, and I came back the next year worked harder, still relates to today. There are still ways to have conversations with your kid about their sport or athletics in general, and just talking about leadership skills, life skills, and how it's going to make them a better adult when they get to those situations.
I love everything you said, and I couldn't agree more. What a better way to say, hey, I got cut, or hey, I hated my playing time too, or whatever it is, right? Just to relate to your kid in those situations, or to just say, hey, here's a similar situation, and here's how I dealt with it, and the way I dealt with it was so wrong. Whether like, hey, maybe I quit playing because I was so frustrated with because I was only getting 8 minutes a game, and I still regret it to this day, right? So there's so many powerful conversations that can be had there. I think you and I are a little not different, but you and I see this way to help our player conversations about the sport. Kind of look at this as on two different angles. You brought up just talking to your kid about athletics and in moments and things like that. I kind of see it as one of the things we talk about is, and one of the things we mention on this show a lot is talking to your kid after the game, right? And how to handle that, and how to handle the emotions that come with an emotional loss, or an emotional win, or an emotional injury, or an emotional I didn't play very well, or whatever it is, right? Is there not a better time than so Dunham played poorly on Saturday, and as the parent, I did what I was supposed to do. I got in the car on Saturday, and I was like, "Hey man, how you feeling?" And Dunham says, "I didn't play very well," and I said, "Oh, come on, tell me one thing you did well." And he says, "I worked hard. I tried my best," or whatever it is, right? What a better way on a Wednesday where the emotions are gone, right? We've moved past everything to circle back to that conversation and say, hey, Dunham, you were really upset with Saturday after the game. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that a little bit, right? Yeah. I'm not going to look at Dunham and say, okay, you were so awful Saturday. What can we do to fix it, right? But now I can look at my kid and say, hey, you were pretty upset with the way you played Saturday. Now that we've had some time to move on, and trust me, that kid has thought about it. Even if they haven't talked to you about it, that kid has thought about it. They've probably already had a training since Saturday, right? So now I think it's very appropriate to say, hey, talk to me about your game Saturday. How'd you feel it went? And again, you don't want to trigger the kid. You don't want to trigger the player, but you want to give them an opportunity to say, yeah, I got to work harder. Or, Dad, we got to do something to clean up my first touch. Or, Dad, I can't keep missing shots right in front of the goal. Or, whatever it is, right? But you can use this moment to have those conversations where it's not so emotionally charged.
100% coach. I love everything you've just said there. And just like you said, two perspectives, but we're talking.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just the idea. And you know what? When you're playing video games with your kid, great time to have a conversation. Yeah. When you're picking your kid up from school, great time to have a conversation. When you come home from work and he's sitting there watching some goofy YouTube video, hey, what you coming here and have a conversation with me, homie? Multiple ways to get a conversation started.
That one felt personal for you.
No. Let's move on to number 4. This one hits at home. Watching matches together. I cannot for the life of me get my son to watch a Liverpool game with me. However,
have you tried to get him to watch an Arsenal game?
However, no.
Maybe he like Arsenal.
I'll give him credit. Instead of sitting down watching games, he's outside kicking the soccer ball around. I'm not going to take him away from that. I want him outside playing as long as possible.
Right.
And when he's 30 years old and can't be outside doing it anymore, he can decide to watch a game with me then.
Right. Yeah.
But right now, if he's outside kicking the ball, I'm going to let him do it. He still asks me, hey, how Liverpool do today? Hey, they won today. Oh, awesome. And he'll walk up happy and he'll go back outside, kick the ball some more. So watching matches together, you're not just watching matches, you're bonding. Now you guys are creating a memory, a bond, and something he's gonna look back at. Man, I all I remember is Saturday mornings watching games with my dad.
Yeah. Dad waking me up at 7:30 on a Saturday morning because his team was on TV.
He'd make pancakes.
Yeah.
It'd just be me and Dad. Nobody bothering us. Mom wasn't yelling at us about doing chores or gotta get groceries or cleaning my room up.
I love that.
It's a great way to just bond with your kid.
What a great point. And I guess to, again, because, we want on this Friday Footy Talk, we want to give multiple perspectives here. So, so as a coach, right, as a coach, because I don't have children of my own, I have 33 daughters in my mind that I coach. But for me, when, as you kind of alluded to, at this, we're talking middle school aged and probably even high school aged at this point. It is hard to get these kids to sit down and focus in on a game, right, for 90 minutes. It just is. It's just not.
That's true.
It's just not who kids are anymore,
That's
right?
very true.
But I think from a coach perspective, if I can reach out to, Dad Dunham and say, "Hey, Dad Dunham, I know you've been trying to get son Dunham to watch soccer with you. The U.S. men team plays this weekend. I'd really like Ryan to focus in on Weston McKennie and watch what Weston McKennie does, right? And then that just gives us another in to say, hey, son, look, your coach wants you to watch number 23 on the pitch in this game, right? And then it gives you another way to study the game. And maybe they're not so interested in...
Or learn the game.
Yeah, or learn the game, right? And maybe they're not so interested in who wins and who loses, but now I've given them a focal point, and I think I think there's some power to that as well. I always tell my teams, and I'm sure you do as well, hey, there's a game tonight. I don't ever make it like, a requirement or whatever.
Sure.
But you can kind of say, hey, if you would like for me to tell you someone to focus on in this match, shoot me a message, or have mom shoot me a message. And I get 2 or 3 messages a U.S. women's game that says, hey, who should, so and so focus on? And I think that is another way to watch matches, or to learn, or to study. Give these players not only a match to watch, but a specific player to watch that can help them even more.
1000%, Coach. And I love that. Learning the game together with your kids.
Absolutely. Well,
it's yeah.
And especially since, I love what you said, there are a whole lot of adults who never played soccer and didn't even really know soccer was a thing until their kid came home one day from school and was like, hey, I want to do this thing called soccer, right? No better way to just sit and watch the game together.
I love it. Absolutely. Coach, let's dig down to our final Friday Footy Talk, number 5. You and I could talk about this. It's the one thing, it's number 5 for a reason, because we feel it's one of the more important things that's on here. A ball on a wall.
Yeah.
You're texting your friends, they're not responding. Your dad's mowing the yard, mom's out getting groceries, your siblings are getting on your nerves, and you just need to get out and just get a release. Just go outside, juggle, a ball on a wall, and just play.
No, I mean, and you can, players who are listening to this, you can literally Google ball on a wall soccer, and you're going to get hundreds, if not thousands, of drills to do by yourself with a soccer ball and a wall. And when we say wall, brick wall, garage door, cement wall, you can buy a rebounder off of Amazon for $20 right now. I mean, there are so many walls that you can gather, and ultimately, it just touches on the soccer ball, right?
About to say the exact same thing.
That's ultimately all it is. Getting touches on the soccer ball. I love what you mentioned, and we didn't put it in our top 5, but juggle. I mean, juggling is becoming a lost art, really.
It really is.
But juggling, ball on the wall, just getting touches on the soccer ball. And the best thing about this one, players, and I know it takes that next step of motivation and it takes that next step of commitment, but it doesn't require anybody else. It requires you and a work ethic to take your soccer ball outside. And I love what you said earlier. I'm not asking you to do 3 hours with the ball on the wall, but go do 10 minutes. Go get 500 touches. And, you hear, I think players sometimes hear that number. I'm like, 500? And they're like, I'm going to be out there all day. It takes 3 minutes to get 500 touches. If you're doing it the right way and you're working in one touch, I love a ball on the wall. I've started all of my indoor sessions this winter training with a ball on the wall. It is a player with the ball and they're playing off the wall. So I love this.
And there's so many different ways to go about this. You can say, I'm going to go juggle until I get 30 in a row, and then I'm going to go back inside. Yeah. Or I'm going to hit the ball off the wall, and I'm going to have 10 perfect first touches, and I'm going to go back inside. It doesn't need to be, like you said, it doesn't need to be forever. It could be 10, 15 minutes just to get in a good workout. It's just about getting touches, meaningful touches.
Meaningful, yeah.
And if you want to go outside and just kind of goof around the ball, try new things, do that too.
Absolutely.
If you got a new move you saw on a YouTube channel or you saw somebody do it in the game, and you're like, how in the world did they do that? Give it 15 minutes and give it your best shot. If you don't get it, you don't get it.
Well, and I think to your point, as coaches, and I think players need to hear this too, and probably some mamas and daddies, but coaches and players specifically, it shows up whether you know it or not.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell in a training, especially those early January trainings or those early August trainings, I can tell who's done some ball on a wall work.
Obvious.
Yeah.
You and I, you nailed it on the head. When you end your season in late May and you come back in mid-August, it is obvious who has not touched a soccer ball.
100%.
Obvious.
So, ball on the wall, 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day. And if you don't have 5 or 10 minutes, then say, all right, I'm going to get 200 touches, or I'm going to get, whatever it is. I'm going to try that Ronaldo bicycle kick that I saw last week. Whatever it is. But just getting the ball at your feet, especially at a young age, is so important.
It could be standing in front of the TV and just doing little ball rolls.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. Again, it's about touches, having the ball at your feet, gaining that comfortability with the ball, not even looking at it. You can be watching your cartoons, you can be watching YouTube, whatever it is. It's about the touches.
I love you mentioned that. I know we're going to shut this off pretty quickly, but I love that you mentioned that because, and players that are listening, mamas and daddies that are listening, like I have a agenda on my phone that is literally called commercial break. And so I give it to my players, like, give me an hour when you're watching your favorite show. Here are the 3 things I want you to do during commercial breaks. And they're quick. You can do it sitting in front of your TV in a 4x4 area. It's super quick. There's so many ways to get touches on the soccer ball.
Folks, this has been your Friday Footy Talk. We hope you've enjoyed this. I'm Coach Dunham. This is Coach Hamilton. We are the A.C.E Football Academy. Go kick some ace.